Welcome back to Heart of Glass, the video podcast. This is the show that helps us take a much more in-depth look at the people who make up the heartbeat of the Glass City. Today we are filming right here on site at Toledo Spirits, which is one of our sponsors. We partnered up with them with their Heart of Glass vodka, and we're very grateful to be recording right here on site. I'm very excited today because our guest is very well known in the Toledo area and also a very good friend. She is known for her powerhouse vocals as the lead singer and frontwoman of Arctic Clam. She is known for her very impressive legal career, and she is also known for being an all-around amazing philanthropist. So without further ado, I give you Nicole Khoury. Nicole, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I was telling you before we got started that it was interesting when I was sitting down and really thinking about what I wanted to ask you, because I've known you for a while, but in thinking about all the different areas of your life that you're involved in, there's so much to ask you about, so I'm very excited to dig into this with you.
Anytime I do any kind of an interview or anything like that, it seems to go on a lot longer than people expect it to.
Well, when you're involved in 5,000 different things, right. I feel like that's bound to happen, right?
Probably, yeah.
So I feel like a really good point to start with you, and this is the thing that I thought of immediately, is talking about Nicole Khoury, the early years. So we're thinking like middle school and high school. So I'm thinking about that through the lens of the person that I know today and who I've known the entire time that I've known you is a very ambitious and goal-oriented and driven person. So have you always been like that?
Yes.
Okay, that's not surprising
Easy answer,
to me.
Yes.
Okay, where does that drive come from?
You know, I have no idea. I can tell you that my dad always tells me that I am the oldest of 4 girls, and he always told me that he could tell each of our personalities from the minute we started walking. And for me, the minute I started walking, I walked away from everybody, and I was on my own and doing my thing, and that was me. It was like, oh boy, this one's gonna be a go-getter, right? I mean, all through grade school, it was always piano lessons, dance lessons. I did very well in school. Junior high, same thing. I played all the sports. Still doing the dance lessons, still taking the piano lessons, got a little bit involved in clubs and things like that. It was in 8th grade when I decided I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And it's really funny because I know that a lot of people say they know what they want to do. It's weird that I did it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was one of those things where it was like, well, this is what I'm gonna do. And then throughout high school, same thing, just on a bigger level from junior high. I was the president of every club imaginable. Like I said, I primarily focused on volleyball when it came to high school. I was a dancer. It was very important to me, and playing basketball and softball would have interfered with that a little bit too much. Volleyball did a lot, but I loved volleyball, so I kept on going with that. Yes, I was voted most likely to succeed, and those kinds of things. I was always kind of a go-getter. And I kind of consider myself kind of the same way I do now. I don't think I fit into a box. I think these days it's very easy to try to generalize and group people together based on all kinds of different things, whether it's a social issue or whether it's a political issue. It's like, oh, well, you must be this because you're this.
Absolutely.
I've never fit into a box. I was always kind of friends with everybody. The core group of friends that I had in kindergarten are still my best friends.
Wow.
The carried through junior high, carried through high school. That core group, we don't talk as often, but when we do, it's like no time has passed, and they are there for me at the drop of a hat. I'm there for them at the drop of a hat. So I think having that, just that base, and we all pushed each other pretty well. I'm a very proud Toledo public grad.
Yes.
And the group that we had, and I've had several professors and teachers come back and tell me the same thing. 1995, we were kind of the apex, and then things slowly started to kind of come back down the hill. When I was a senior, we had 5 people. The top 5 in our class were all within 1/1000th of a point of each other, all over 4 points. So it was one of those things where I think that drive and that competition has been something that's always been there for me.
Yeah.
I am very competitive with basically everything in life.
Such a shocker.
Don't talk to Scott about that. We have a lot of interesting competitive streaks. But anyway, So I think that that's the long answer on probably where it came from. It just
Okay.
kind of is ingrained in me, and it's always been that way.
That makes sense. What's interesting to me about what you said with the number of activities you were involved in growing up, and just the fact that you knew exactly what you wanted to do so young, and you had a goal in mind and you were so driven. I find it very interesting listening to you talk that you still maintain such a really good balance of a personal life and family life, because I think oftentimes what you find in younger people when they're in school and they are that overachiever, they're that person that is goal driven, and in the name of that, they will let everything else fall to the wayside.
Sure.
So how were you able to, with still being such a high achiever, keep that at the forefront of your mind while also keeping your personal life and family life balanced?
To me, really, friends and family are everything. I wouldn't be where I am without the support of everybody. I have the unique experience of having run a political campaign, which was awful. But man, did I have friends and family come out of the woodwork that helped me, whether it was walking in a parade or wearing a shirt or standing out in the cold on election day. When you realize, I am if I were to describe myself in one word, I'm extremely loyal.
Yeah, you are.
And
you really
like
are.
To a fault sometimes. And when it comes to that, it's like when I see what all of these other people do for me, I need to reciprocate that in a million different ways, whether it's cooking dinners or doing whatever. So I think that having that is super important to me. I come from a very big family. I am closer with my second cousins than most people are with their brothers and sisters. And it's just Mediterranean culture, and we're all very close, and that's just what you do. I mean, family dinner is 65 people. It's
that's a lot of people.
It's not the five of us around a table. It's like everybody comes.
Yeah.
I started doing those kinds of things. The way we had Monday night dinners for years, just with like my core group of friends. And if you aren't loyal to the people who have helped get you here, then there's no reason you should be here. I mean, that's kind of the way I feel. I am a person that needs to be around other people at all times.
Yeah, I see that. And you have a really unique quality about you where you're capable of handling basically anything, and you are a take charge person, but you have the unique ability to be able to kind of look up overhead like a mama bird and be like, hey, yes, I can handle this and this and this, but I know that I can't do this on my own, and I know I have these capable people who are committed to helping me. So you're very good at delegating and about seeing when you need to maybe take a back seat and have other people do other things.
I didn't used to be.
Okay.
I didn't used to be, and I guess specifically I'm thinking about that with Project I Am. Before we got to be as big as we were, it really was a one-man band that, I'd have a couple people that would, be there for the day of the events. But then as it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and as the logistics came into play, we almost, have created our own little mini, corporation to where I can say, you are in charge of this aspect and all the aspects of this stuff. And everybody knows at the end of the day, they run everything by me. And everybody knows if I want something specifically done, I need this to be done, but I don't have to micromanage it anymore, and that's such a nice feeling. But in the beginning, it was hard because it's your baby.
It's your baby, yeah.
It's your baby. It's what you're doing. But yeah, you have to delegate. You can't keep it all in. I have to give credit to Scott for that.
Yeah.
Until he came into my life, I was just. And he's really been able to calm me down and keep me level-headed and bring that extra, I guess just peacefulness when it comes to doing things.
Yeah.
So I really do have to credit him for helping me figure that out.
That's amazing. You can definitely tell that he plays a big part in helping you be able to do what you need to do in the best way possible with the least amount of stress possible.
At 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
So so I know a lot of people, most people in your life have affectionately referred to you as Superwoman at one time or another, because you do accomplish more before most of us finish breakfast than most of us finish an entire day. So how do you take care of yourself? How do you practice self-care? Because your schedule is intense. So how do you at the end of the day, when you are exhausted and you have 1,000 other things coming up during the week, how do you take a minute for yourself and kind of step away from the craziness?
I never step away from the craziness because my mind moves very quickly.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's constantly moving, and I always tell Scott I have organized ADD, whereas he has very unorganized ADD. But I don't know how or why, and people think like I'm not paying attention to them, and then I'll like look up and recite every word of what they said. That's just how my brain works.
But you can tell that what you're saying is genuinely accurate,
Right.
because even when you reference the standing out in the cold thing for your campaign,
Sure.
the fact that you remembered
That you were one of the people that did that, right?
That one day, that I did
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
day.
yeah.
I mean, you're right. It may seem, because you do have to have your mind on 1,000 different things at one time, that maybe you're not locked in. But I've seen it personally. You
Right,
definitely
right.
are. You're very organized.
That is definitely true. For me, I think it's more. I don't like sit there. I don't meditate. Surprise, surprise. I'm very impatient. I'm terrible at yoga. Surprise, surprise. If I'm not good at something, I usually don't do it. So in terms of like self-care for me, it's more. I enjoy. Believe it or not, like the things that I enjoy is going home and cooking dinner for a bunch of people and having a bunch of friends come over and eating and having some wine and having a good time. Like that to me, it sounds crazy, but that to me, it's not that it relaxes me, but I enjoy it. And it's something that really comes from who I am,
It's actually not that surprising to me, because would you describe yourself as an extrovert?
Oh God, yeah.
Like I know, okay, so I consider myself to be an introvert, but I'm an introvert who loves people.
Right.
So I love people, but at
Right.
the end of the day, I'm exhausted from the people and I get my energy from recharging. But it makes sense because you get your energy from being around the people that
Right.
you love and care about. And the cooking thing doesn't surprise me either, because I don't think I've ever left your house without food.
Without to-go food.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's interesting too. I mean, people always, I don't drink coffee. I am not on any.
That is shocking.
Yeah, no, I don't drink coffee. I'm not on any kind of like weird prescription medications. I don't do drugs, obviously.
Right.
They're like, where does it come from? And at 44, I guess I thought it would have started to kind of go down, and it just hasn't. My body hurts a lot.
Sure.
I've always had terrible bones and joints, and not even this one. This one is actually the only bone in my body that doesn't hurt is the one with the 14 screws
That's
in it.
wild.
But so, I noticed that I'm slower when it comes to some things physically, but like, I don't know if you saw my Facebook post. I literally, ran my hill the other day.
Yes.
Like, and I was like, why am I doing this? I get crazy in my head, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do it.
That doesn't surprise me though, because you're a person who pushes yourself. So it makes sense to me that you would look at this as, okay, this is a perceived limitation, but my body can do this, so I'm gonna do it even if it hurts.
Yeah. That's pretty much me.
That makes a lot of sense. So you brought up the campaign.
Sure.
So I want to talk about that for a second,
Sure.
in relationship to the fact that you're in so many visible leadership roles. It's not just that you're in leadership roles, but they're very visible.
Sure.
So as well as I do, anytime you're in a visible leadership role or multiples like you face haters. You face people that are actively rooting against you.
Yep.
And I actually had made a note that I thought and referenced in my head your campaign, because I remember some of what you went through with the campaign.
Yep.
Okay, so knowing that you almost at all times have at least a couple people actively rooting against you, how do you not let that get in your head?
So I do. I would love to sit here and say that I don't care what anybody thinks about me. That's just not in my nature. I want everybody to like me. And then I question like, but why don't you like me or whatever? I think what I learned running a campaign, which I would never suggest to anybody in the entire world, because it is an awful, awful experience. I mean, I loved it because I met a lot of wonderful people and it was a great experience. And I mean, like little things like, we'll use musicians for an example, who never voted before and sure as heck never voted for judge, went out and voted.
I was one of them. I never voted for the judge category
because
before.
You don't know.
Right, exactly.
And so that was awesome. Like that part about it was awesome. Obviously the night that we won was awesome. All of that, and my job is awesome. The going through it and knowing you actively have people who don't even know why they hate you, but they do. Mm-hmm. That, and like I talked about earlier, like clumping you into a generalization, especially based on political stuff, when I'm like, how can you not look at the last 40 years of my life, see the things that I've done, and then say, oh, I hate gay people.
Right.
Jeez, I started Toledo Pride with Lexi. How do I hate gay people?
Right.
You know, I mean, I had somebody posting, oh, I'm not going to vote for Nicole Khoury because she denied an inmate an abortion and I was like, I'm a public defender. What in the hell? What power do I have to deny somebody an abortion in jail? Like, what are you even talking about? So knowing that there were all of these little lies that turned into a cycle, the thing that I tried to remember was it's an echo chamber, and the people who were talking about it are talking to each other about it. And most to this day, when I bring up some of the things that were pretty shitty that were done to me, people are like, and to people like within like that group, they were like, they did what? Like, I didn't even know that.
I remember you telling me about a conversation you had with another person during the whole campaign where they actually sat down across from you and they were basically berating you for the party affiliation with simply because of the party name. And that was somebody who sat down in front of you. So I can only imagine behind the scenes, like you were saying, the things that people were not hearing and saying, but that you were getting on a regular basis.
I say this every day. I'll continue to say it. I think 90% of our country is on about the same playing field when it comes to politics. I think that most of us are rational people who work hard and want to do with our money what we want to. We might have some disagreements on some social issues here and there, but the 5% of the right and the 5% of the left that are just way too far on either side are what's driving the narrative. And
those are the loudest voices.
What drives me insane, because I know if we had some the regular party, I don't know, call it whatever you want to, the we don't want to hate everybody party, I don't know, that it would prevail wonderfully. The problem is people are so fixated on the divisiveness that they don't realize how much we all are right here. And so, we do live in a town that is very driven by one political party over another. I believe that I have great attributes from the good of both of the parties.
I agree with that.
Yes, I was endorsed by the Republicans. I will say I didn't seek any political endorsement from day one until now. I run on who I am, what my record is. If a political party decides that they want to endorse me based on who I am, good for them. I mean, it was very obvious that I was an LGBT proponent. So if the Republicans decided that because even with that they wanted to endorse me, then good for them for looking past that if that is on their platform.
Right.
But I hate the idea of just clumping every single person into every single category. Like, if you're a Dem, you have to believe X, Y, and Z. And if you're a Republican, you have to believe X, Y, and Z. Those are the things that make me insane, because it's not that way. Most of us believe in a whole lot of different things.
Absolutely.
And how we vote is how we vote. Very specifically, I early voted for this primary. I am very concerned with who ends up getting the U.S. Senate seat.
Yeah.
So that was what my focus was on for this primary, was pulling that ballot and making sure I made a decision that I believed in for that particular seat.
Yeah.
So that is one of those things where it's like, oh, well, look at her. She's a Republican. She's registered Republican because she, pulled this ballot. Well, yeah, I want to make sure who gets Portman's seat is somebody that I believe in and not somebody that I am adamantly against.
Right.
So that's kind of how that part about it was really awful, because like I said, everybody, they know who I am. They know what I do. If you don't like me because you don't like me, that's great. But don't try to paint me into a box that I don't belong in.
But you know what? I think for a lot of people, they almost have to do that. Everybody has to be in a box in their mind, but they don't see the full picture. This is a perfect example of why I wanted to do this in the first place, because so many people, they kind of build this narrative in their mind of what a person's like, and they're building it based off of these one or two things that they know, or maybe not even know, things that they've heard. And when I think about you, specifically in the political realm, I feel like if there was a party that was called Compassionate Force, that would be you.
That's
because,
awesome. I like that.
Yeah, because you're very, you're very forceful.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about what you believe is right. But at the end of the day, you're very compassionate.
Well, and it all comes from the right place. I want to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
You know, I try never to read comments and things. And to be honest, I haven't heard too many bad things since I've been on the bench. I had one lady who sent an email or a Facebook message to the judge page who, you know, blamed me for her son dying because I let a person out of jail 3 weeks before, and that person got in a car accident with her son, and her son unfortunately passed away. And I thought, man, I really wish that I could explain the judicial system to everybody and explain how this person was not able to spend any more time in jail because they pled to a minor misdemeanor, which doesn't carry any jail time.
Right.
I don't know how that's on me, but I can't sentence you to jail if it doesn't carry
people
jail.
make their own choices.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I mean, you were not physically manipulating that person and making them do that. I mean, you're doing your job to the absolute best of your ability with the laws and the specifications that are in place.
And that's the thing. I mean, I get it. People, you know, somebody else was complaining, and unless a friend told me, I wouldn't have known the other day that, you know, oh, I can't believe she didn't put this person in jail and blah, blah, blah. But very specifically, the person, what they wanted was their money back. Well, if I put you, if you want your money back, and I have to put them on probation because that's how they pay the money back.
Right.
Well, I can't put you on probation and give you a maximum sentence. That's just, I can't. Yeah, I could have given them a couple days here or there, but they were already in jail. It's like, so, you know, you want to be able to explain that to people. And some of that stuff I do take to heart, but then I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? Out of the tens of thousands of cases that we do, you know, come to court and tell me what you want. You didn't come to court and tell me, you know. I listen to people on both sides of the coin. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're obviously a woman in a male-dominated field when we think about your job as a judge. So I was thinking back to, once again, your campaign even before you were actually on the bench, and thinking about some of the challenges that you faced because you are a woman in a male-dominated field, even thinking down to some of the pictures that were posted of you and articles where you see all the men are smiling and it's like the best headshot ever, and then you see they happen to catch you in a moment that was completely out of context and you happen to have a severe look on your face. So even thinking back to that, as a woman in a male-dominated field, what are some of the challenges that you face?
So that's interesting you bring that up, because I've never looked at it. I've never said I didn't get this job because I was a woman. But there have been a couple issues recently where I've said, I know that it's because I don't believe that you would talk to the guy like this. You talk to me, but even though you're talking to me this way. But I kind of try, I guess, I don't know how to say this. I try to base it more on the situation versus the gender thing. For example, of the 7 judges on the bench, I practiced in front of all of them except for the one who came in when I did. But he was a prosecutor in a very specific courtroom, so we always had the same judge. I practiced in front of all of them, and now I'm in the same room with them as equals.
Wow.
And the insecure part of me says sometimes I'm like, I still feel as though I'm beneath them even though I'm equal to them. But yes, I mean, they'll post a picture of me from 10 years ago on a bar top in fishnets doing a shot, but not any frat boy parties of your opponent who I'm sure has never drank a beer in his life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get all of that. I try not to fixate too much on the gender thing.
Good.
I think it's more, I mean, I guess the way I look at it is if they weren't a little threatened by me and didn't take me seriously, it wouldn't have been. They wouldn't have done anything to draw attention at all.
Yeah,
you know, but
that makes sense. One of the things that I look at you and I admire about you so much is I know because I hear you talk, you do get nervous in situations, but it never reads on the outside.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I look at you and I'm like, man, I really want to emulate that is even when you're nervous, you still take up the space that you need to take in a room. And I'm sure that absolutely, I'm sure that very much works in your favor, because like you said, I mean, they're intimidated of you, but that's because you're taking up the space that you have earned, that you deserve, and that you know you can take.
There are a lot of things that you need to do in private that, you know, part of it is, I mean, you do have to put on a different face. You do have to make sure that you're not, I mean, you're being watched constantly. You know, you have people in your courtroom constantly that are mad at you. You have people at benefits that are constantly out there. I'm always scanning the room. Like, why is this person taking pictures? Like, why is this, always, I think a little bit of paranoia isn't the worst thing in the world to have.
Sure.
You know?
Well, you're looking and seeing, you're trying to predict potential risk there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's, once again, thinking about acoustics specifically, that's your baby, so it only makes sense that there would be a certain sense of hypervigilance. And
I don't know if you ever noticed, but whenever I play, I'm always scanning, my eyes are always scanning the crowd. If I see a fight, I'll be the first one to be like, hey, that girl there, you know what I mean? I mean, I get this girl off the stage, I mean, I'm always scanning and trying to take care of things as we go. And again, I think that's just the way my mind it just is able to work that way. I don't know how. I'm glad it does. It's just, I was, born with a curse that actually did me pretty well, I guess, because I think if I didn't have all that going on all the time, that I wouldn't be where I am.
That makes sense. Absolutely. So we've mentioned acoustics and your band. So let's move into talking about acoustics because obviously your baby, so we need to talk about it. So I know that it was birthed from a conversation that you had with Dave Carpenter back in 2007 over cocktails. And it was really, hey, this would be a cool name for an event. So flash forward then to that first Sunday in March in 2008.
Yeah, so that was like in the late summer, if I recall. And then a friend of mine did a walk for an autism event where they, you have a team and you go and you get donations. And I donated money. And I mean, I guess I was naive at that point thinking, oh, well, I know how much money they're spending on treatment, so this money's gonna help their kid. And they raised like $6,000 or $7,000. And then I remember it like, no, it doesn't directly benefit him at all. It goes to the providers. And I was like, wait a minute, like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And so in January, so it would have been, good 6 months later, I said, hey, Dave, remember when we talked about that cool name? Well, I think I want to do something and this is why. And this is the date I want to do it on. And we'll do it one time and, just see what happens. Well, we see what's happened. It's become, allegedly the biggest free music event in the entire country. And, I think it's the most beloved event in town. And I mean, I think it's just the being able to stay true to it's free, being able to stay true to we don't care what y'all think, we're doing it the first Sunday in March, being able to stay true to mommy. I mean, we're literally building, it's like playing Tetris with tents. It's and we're like, well, if we can get just an inch this way, we might be able to get a bigger, it's the craziest thing. Got to give credit to Rob from Meredith Party Rentals for that, because we sit there and we're just like, how are we going to do this? And how are we going to make it bigger? How are we going to add that an extra foot of space? What are we going to do? And it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful day. And my God, we've done it in a tornado our second year, a blizzard our first year, 70 degrees one year, and then this year was pretty darn good. And then, we've had every kind of weather you could imagine in between, and it's never not done it. It's never not just done it to where you sit there and you say, yep, this is the perfect day,
Absolutely.
No matter what's going on outside.
So let me ask you this. So if you think back to that very first Acoustics for Autism.
I remember shoveling snow. It was, let me take a sip because I'm going to mention my ex-boyfriend. I remember my father, and I lived on Frampton, and my driveway was extremely narrow and it was right up against the house, and I had everything like in my garage. And I mean, it was only at the Idiot. And Georgette's opened for us to have the silent auction in there. And it was, when I say a blizzard, I mean, we had like 3 or 4 feet of snow.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I mean, it was like everything was being canceled. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I just remember my ex-boyfriend and my dad and me, and we were out there shoveling and and at that point, it was really just me and my neighbor and a couple of my friends. And we were the ones that just like put it on,
Yeah.
And then, I remember moments of it. I remember standing up there during the live auction. I remember very specific moments of it. And to see what it is now is just, it's crazy.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Crazy.
So thinking about getting to the end of the day of that very first one and knowing who you are as a person, I'm sure the wheels in your head were immediately turning, probably even before it ended that day. Thinking forward to this year, did you picture it getting to the point that it is now, or did this completely go beyond your wildest expectations with it?
Yes and no. No, because I didn't ever expect it to be this big. Yes, because I will never forget as long as I live. This is back in the days when I was still going to work the next day,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can go to work. And
when you get more seasoned at it, we all know to take the next day off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We should just have a holiday. So if you want the truth, don't ever challenge me, because I will accept it and I will conquer it. And what I was very upset about was when we decided to do this, we went to the normal sources for autism in the city. And I'm not going to mention any names, but those organizations went to and said, hey, we want to do this. And they were like, no thanks. And we were like, well, we just are looking to maybe partner with a 501c3. And when we, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no. I was like, okay. So that made me mad. And then we found a couple organizations that would do it. And it was one of those things where if you specifically wanted a tax write-off, because we weren't a 501c3 on the first, we were a nonprofit, but not a 501c3. So we were very specifically, if you want a tax write-off, then write a check to one of these 3 places. And we made sure that money went to that place for these kids and blah, blah, blah. So the next morning, so again, 2 a.m., you stroll in at home at 3 a.m., you're tired. Now, mind you, back then, our merchandise booth was in the back cage of the idiot. I wasn't running in circles around a block for 14 hours. I was there, I was doing my merchandise. I still have it, so funny. These colored, those real hard cardboard and plastic, like envelopes, like the need envelopes. Okay.
Yeah, they have the little stretchy.
And I had a little sticky on the front that said t-shirts, like $50, like whatever. I still have some of those envelopes.
Wow.
I found one the other day and I used it the other day. And, I have my little money all sorted and this was that and, whatever. The next morning at 7 a.m., my phone rang and I thought, who in the hell is calling me at 7 a.m.? And sure as hell, it was one of the people that told us no. And I was like, are you really calling me at 7 a.m.? And I knew that they were there the day before and they sat, and at this point we had a bunch of food donated by US Foods. We actually had a buffet out our first year, like on the pool table at the Village Idiot. And like had a buffet, people were eating for free and it was like all this really good food. And we were just like, yeah, why not have some food, enjoy some music. And we saw them, they were eating for free, they did everything. And then called me at 7 a.m. and told me about how I should just donate the money to them and they should distribute it. And I just thought,
wow.
Well, now the game's on.
Yeah.
That was where, you want to know where the drive comes from. For that's where the drive came from. I was so angry and so offended. And I said, well, you just woke the monster, So now we're just going to go for it. And so that's when I decided to officially do a 501c3. And then, slowly but surely, it just, a little bit, we grow this way, we grow this way, we grow this way. Now we're this way and this way and this way and this way, And here we are.
What does it mean to you to see over the years? It's the only event I've ever played at where the people that are actually being supported are on site and able to enjoy the event themselves. Like Acoustics is made for the people that it's serving. What does it mean to you to see real life examples of the people that Project I Am?
Yes, Danny.
Yes, please.
Watching them grow. The first kids that we ever supported financially are graduating high school.
Wow.
And watching the transgression either in person or on Facebook and seeing those things. I mean, I don't know how you don't get a tear in your eye about it. I don't know how you don't say, you know, oh my God, like, I mean, we all know the hug ritual with Danny. We know exactly the way to do it.
Yeah.
We know you shake his hand for, you know, and now he says Nicole. And he went to Kroger with Dee, who's a freaking saint. Dee, I know you're gonna watch this. You're a saint. He goes to Kroger with Dee, and he points at flowers. He says Nicole, and she's like, "Okay, we'll buy flowers for Nicole, Dan." You know, and to see that and to know that when we met, he wasn't saying anything, and now he says my name. I mean, that's pretty crazy. The other thing, I guess, is the parents that we had one kid this year that we just gave a scholarship to. He's new to the Project I Am family. And, you know, I got the letter that said, you know, we were so worried. And I know most parents, I get a lot of complaints. I can't believe this is not autism friendly. And how dare you have this event with all these drunk people? And I'm thinking, first of all, that beer is paying for these scholarships.
There you go.
That is our biggest moneymaker. And that is paying for these scholarships. So don't mess with the beer. But secondly, did you try it? Did you try it? Because I get it, like you're seeing pictures of Arctic Clam on stage with 10,000 people in a tent. You're the parent. Don't bring your kid at 6 o'clock into the tent. Go to the sensory friendly area at noon. Go to the kids area. Go to the Elks. Go somewhere. Give it a shot, but you're still the parent. I'm not gonna take care of your kid if your kid has a meltdown. That's up to you to decide what happens. But give it a shot. I'm giving you the venue for free to give it a shot. And the headphones and the whatever else we have out there to try to make it better and to see other kids just like you. Yeah. And somebody, geez, who was it? Somebody told me a story, just 2 days ago, that they loved that there was an autistic kid on this side of the tent, an autistic kid on this side of the tent, and they didn't even know each other, and they ran up to each other, and they hugged each other, and they started dancing. And I was like, I wish I would have been there to see that, because that is what it's all about. And parents tell me all the time, like, I just didn't think that they would. I'm like, I know you didn't think that, but if I'm giving you a free opportunity to try, why not try? And you know what? If you have to take an army of your friends and family with you to make sure that if your kid does have a problem, that you guys can get them out of there, then do it. It's free. Absolutely. You're not being charged $150 a head to go. You know?
Absolutely.
And there's so many different stages. And if you want to be a little bit more chill, go down to small box. If you want to be a little bit, you know, in a bigger space, go to the Elks. If you want to be in the kids area where the music is more kid friendly, go up there. There's a sensory friendly area now, go there. But for you to tell me that it's not an autism friendly event, I will challenge you on that all day long.
I feel like that's a matter of, like you said, they just need to come and see it. You know what I mean?
Well, I know, I see it. But you don't understand what my kid is like. I go, and I didn't understand what this kid, and this kid was like either. And guess what? You know what? And it might not be okay for them. It might not. So be prepared. Take the snacks, take the weighted blankets, take the whatever you know that when your child is having a meltdown, what you need to help that, and bring it. Come prepared. Come be prepared, you know?
Definitely.
And give it a shot. Like I said, what's the worst that happens? It doesn't work and you leave. It's free. You didn't waste any money.
That's true.
You didn't waste a dime.
That's absolutely
just
true.
You know? So.
Well, okay, so then thinking about you as the front woman and lead singer of Arctic Clam, what was that like for you to have your dad on stage with you this year after he had just had a quintuple bypass literally just weeks earlier?
Yeah, that was crazy. It was it was funny because it wasn't funny. I mean, none of it was funny, but you know, we decided to do this Jay Giles tribute set. We do a surprise tribute set every year. And Jay Giles we thought would be fun. And for those of you who don't know, our original lineup is Mick Mason, who's the guitar god of Toledo, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, and Stevie Kanarick on the bass, and then of course Scott and me. And Mick has got a full-time job now, and he has been playing in bands. Now, mind you, Scott's been playing in bands for 40 years too, but Mick has been playing in bands for a really super long time, and he's just burnt out. And you know what? I give him all the credit in the world for everything he's doing. But our bass player Jay, Stevie moved away for a while. Our bass player Jay is just stupid good.
He is stupid good
at everything. And his girlfriend Grace, who you know well,
Also
is
amazing.
stupid good at a lot of things. And they're both professional musicians, and they're the consummate professionals. And then when Stevie came back in town, you know, over COVID, I say this all the time, while the rest of us got drunk and fat, Jay decided he was gonna learn how to play the guitar.
Learn the
And we're
whole
like,
ass guitar, not not just learning
yeah,
a
not
little
learning
bit.
a little bit. Not playing, like I've been playing for about, 15 years now, and I mean, he's like, I'm not playing chords, I'll do this. So he's doing great.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, now that Stevie's back, what are the chances that we could have Jay play the guitar? So we decided, trust me, we always have a million different ideas in our head of what we're gonna do, but we thought for his first year playing the electric guitar and being out there doing a tribute set, we weren't gonna go full out Led Zeppelin. You know, we were gonna just do like, let's find something that's, you know, whatever. And then we had a couple ideas and Jay Giles was like, let's do it. And so harmonica is so important in Jay Giles'
Yes,
set.
it is.
So we talked to my dad, and of course my dad had been practicing for a year. And then 4 weeks before Acoustics, literally, he practiced with us on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday, stubborn men, a little tightness in his chest, but he's gonna sleep it off. And the next morning, he still had the tightness in his chest. And then I didn't know anything about it. I got a phone call from my mom the next day, and she's like, your dad's being admitted in Toledo Hospital, he had a heart attack. I'm like, what in the world are you talking? It was the day of the snowstorm when everything got canceled.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world are you talking about? So Scott and I kind of trucked through to the little ProMedica building, and then I go with my dad over to the hospital, and then they're like, oh, it'll be easy. We'll just do a stent. You'll be up in no time. And then the next day they're like, yeah, no, we're going to crack you open. And my dad just looked at me, he goes, or he says to the doctor with us in there, he goes, am I going to be able to play the harmonica in 4 weeks?
My God.
Which sounds a lot like somebody else I know. You know, after,
That's what I was literally just thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, even thinking from the standpoint, you and I both know with any type of mouth instrument, that's a lot of breath support. So it makes sense that is who you came from.
Right.
Because to have a heart attack and then full on quintuple bypass and then go play an instrument where you need all of your breath support, it's really impressive.
Well, it's funny. They give you this thing. It's kind of funny. It looks like a bong that you that you blow in and out of as hard as you can, and a little ball like goes up, and it's to help with your lungs. And so he was all excited because he was playing the harmonica literally 2 days after he got out of the hospital. And I mean, not like full force, but he was playing it pretty well. I had a little video of it. I was like, holy smokes. He was like, he goes, it's no different doing this than it is the other thing, you know? And so, yeah, so being up there and, you know, you're there, and I had a couple family members backstage, and they're all crying, and everybody's like, oh, there you go. It's fun, you know, because surprisingly enough, growing up, I was not the singer in the family. My sister Nina was, so number 2 was. Nina has a brilliant voice. I say Nina sounds like Aretha, I sound like Janice.
Yes, okay.
Nina sings the best national anthem I've ever heard. I only sing it if I am absolutely forced to, because I don't feel that I do it justice.
I hear you. That's a hard song to sing, by the way.
That and Happy Birthday. Am I wrong?
They're all
Am
over
I
the place.
wrong?
They're all
What
over
the hell
the place.
is going on with these 2 songs? But yes, I wouldn't attempt, you know, she wouldn't attempt to sing Bobby McGee. I wouldn't, you know, I try not to attempt to sing the national anthem unless I really, really, really feel that I have to. So it's one of those things where my dad didn't even know I could sing until I was in my mid-20s.
No way.
And it was, I'll never forget it. Actually, it's pretty close to where we are right now. Mona's Riverview Lounge, which used to be, I don't know what it is now. It's like if I'm standing on Summit and I'm looking at the Greek Festival, it's like a block down. And she always had an open jam on, I think, Sunday nights. And I was an original Jed's girl, like back Jed's in Perrysburg, behind Fricker's Jed's. And Bobby May and Jonathan Borelli used to play up there. And I don't even know how, but one day I sang a Janice song with them. And then I kept singing with them. And then next thing I know, I walk in with my dad to Mona's open jam. And Bobby's like, hey, Nicole, why don't you come sing? And my dad's like, oh, no, that's not Nina. That's Nicole. He's like, oh, no, I know. Why don't you come sing? And my dad was like, what? And I went up and I sang Janice. And he was like, where did that come from? And I was like, because I used to always have to accompany my sister on the piano.
No way.
And it was like, well, when did that happen? And I'm like, it's always been there. I wasn't the singer, you know?
See, that's so crazy to me because when I think of your voice, okay, your voice is like the polar opposite of mine. And that's why I absolutely fucking love it, because it is that way. You are, when I think of your voice, I think of like that quintessential, powerful, rock star, badass female voice. And so I can see if your sister is like I'm gonna crank out the Star Spangled Banner, yours would be the polar opposite.
Nina's like a Melissa Toth.
Okay, yes,
I mean, she can hit the notes, and I'm just like I wouldn't want to sing Christina Aguilera or Lady Marmalade.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But it's like that. I mean, she's just got this beautiful, wonderful voice, and I'm just like, I don't want to say I don't have a pretty voice, because there are times when it sounds very pretty. But
you have the ability to do both, because I've heard you do some extremely pretty covers where you're not doing those rock star streaming vocals, and you have this really pretty quality about your voice too, so you can do both.
A little bit.
Yeah,
not quite as high, but you know.
That's all right. The power's still there.
So that's where, I mean, that's, you know, like I said, so fast forward 20 years and now you're on stage with your dad and like you're the band girl.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I grew up with my dad playing in bands. I mean, I remember like being in the basement and dancing while they were practicing. I mean, he was in bands all growing up, you know? And he's still, right now, he's kind of jamming with some old guys right now, you know? So it's fun. My whole family's filled with musicians. On my mom's side, it's all piano players. And on my dad's side, the vocals are just out of control.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When you come to our house for Christmas, like, and you sing a Christmas carol, it's like a straight up like 8-part Hallelujah chorus. It's not
amazing.
Yeah, it's not like it is Joy to the World, but again in like 4-part harmony.
Yeah.
You know, that's what our family is. It just is. And we all went to Bowser.
Wow.
Well, my dad went to Woodward, and his family went to Woodward, but his cousins, who like I said, were like brothers and sisters, because they're more my age, we all went to Bowser. So from 1966 to 2006, we had somebody at Bowser from my family for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because you have a whole musical biological family, but then with Arctic Clam, you have a whole musical family. So, so thinking about Arctic Clam, so like I told you when I was doing research for the interview, I didn't realize that y'all started completely acoustic back in 2005.
Yeah.
What made you decide to make that shift from acoustic to the rock band version that I'm more familiar with today, 6 years later?
So interestingly enough, my very first person I ever played with was Borelli.
Yeah.
And then I played with a dear friend of mine, Greg Dumas. And Greg again was an electric guitar player who grew up playing in bands when Mick was playing in like Tito Slack or Groove Bone, and when Scott was playing in Sugar Buzz or Blitzen, he was playing in a bunch of different bands. He was never overly confident about his acoustic guitar playing, but we did this, we had fun. We had so much fun. And then he moved to Indianapolis and he said, let me talk to Mick and see if Mick would be willing to do it. And so Mick got together with me. Well, I was offered to play a gig one time, and it was the night of the tornado that touched down out in was it Lake? Yeah. Okay, so it was that night, maybe 2006 maybe.
Okay.
And it was funny, Dave Carpenter was gone at a track meet that day, and Mick and Stevie weren't available. Mick wasn't available, and he was playing with a different band with Stevie and another drummer. And I asked Dave Carpenter's band, I was like, would you play this gig with me? And they're like, sure. And then strangely enough, Sean, who was playing the guitar with them, didn't feel overly confident with a couple things. So my dad ended up sitting in that night and playing the guitar too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I remember we're partying and the tornado sirens are going off and everybody's like, it's just a warning, keep going, keep going. And little do we know, a tornado actually hits. So after that, we got offered a couple more gigs, and I was like talking to Mick, and so then his band so again, I kind of was like taking bands that were already bands and being like, can you back me?
You know what though? I feel like that's kind of how a lot of bands get started is if you don't already have a preset one, you're looking at the people that you know who are already in projects that you know would be able to come on board with you.
So Mick and Stevie, and then a guy named Brad who played with Mick and Kyle White for a gazillion years, really, I mean, Mick and I went as Arctic Clam, but then we just became Arctic Clam. And then in 2012 is when Scott took over as drummer. And that's when I really feel that we changed. Scott is such a good drummer. I mean, he's such a good drummer. And Mick was able to not be the leader of the band anymore when it comes to the music, like the driving leader of the band. He was able to be Mick and just play the guitar. And Stevie and Scott had such a good connection, and they just had this great groove together. That was when everything changed. And his first show, Scott's first show, was Acoustics For Autism 2012.
Really?
We went to his house on a Sunday. We practiced the set list, which was like 10 songs. And next time I saw him was at Acoustics, and he played with us. And I remember very specifically, it was Jeff Stewart, Chris Shutters, and Dave Carpenter were standing there watching us. And we got done, and they were like, when did you guys get good? And I was like, about 4 seconds ago. When Scott decided to like be in the band, it just changed everything. Wow. It really did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Scott for a second,
Sure.
okay? So thinking about Scott, obviously he's important to your connection with the band, and he helps give you your sound. But Scott is such a big part of all the other aspects of your life. So besides the obvious that you're married to Scott, when I say Scott's name, what do you think of? What comes to mind and as far as his role in your life and as your partner in life and in some of your professional capacities?
Sure. He is the most dedicated and loyal to me person that I've ever had in my entire life. Aside from maybe my grandmother, who she and I are, best buds. Nobody in my life has ever lifted me up and supported me the way that he does. And that's in every aspect I can think of. He became my campaign manager. I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we did it well. He is a wonderful, wonderful father to his sons. He is a great family person, but he is just the best husband to me. You know what I mean? And I'm not just saying that because I know he's going to see this. He is just the best husband to me. I don't know anybody else who can, he's the yin to my yang. He really does. And I know that sounds cliche, but he is. He brings me down. I think that we even each other out a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm super organized. He's terribly absent-minded. Like I said, I'm organized ADD. He's disorganized ADD. But we complement each other in so many different ways. And I think that when we're around each other, you see the pure joy. We obviously got married. I mean, this is my first marriage. I was 41 when we got married. It's his second marriage, and we found each other later in life. And I think that we both, I had never even been close to getting married. I had been in a lot of long-term relationships that weren't very good for me. And when he came around, we were just best friends. We were best friends at first and helping each other through some hard times. And then inevitably we ended up falling for each other, which was weird because Scott is not what I would have ever said was my type. I'm like give me the black eyeliner, give me the pirate, Jason Momoa, Johnny Depp, that kind of.
Yeah, that's not Scott.
Yeah, it's not Scott. No, not at all.
We love you, Scott. We really do.
Damn pretty though, isn't he?
He is pretty.
But he always says it all the time. He's like, I know I'm not your type. I'm like, babe, like I look every time I wake up, I smile. He's goofy and he drives me absolutely insane. And he sings constantly, but he sings songs like purposely, I think, just to screw with me and other people, by the way. Like he'll sing a song, but he'll sing it in a completely different, he'll sing the country version of CeeLo Green. And he does it really loud in the bathroom, in the shower, so it's echoing through the house. And his son and I just are like, he actually drove somebody insane in a hotel room once because he was singing and they were beating on the wall. And then that just egged him on further. So he started doing it louder and louder. And every day he was doing it. And they were just screaming on the wall and beating on it. But he's just fun. He's fun. He's my best friend. And I wouldn't be here. There's no way I would be here doing what I'm doing without all of his support. There's no question.
You can tell that you two are so perfectly suited for each other because you can see the connection with the two of you and how you lift each other up.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not surprising that you would have waited because you have high standards, and it's not surprising to me that you would have waited a little bit longer to make sure that the person that you were with was meeting your standards. I feel like Scott is very special because you had to find somebody who is willing to go along on the journey with you enthusiastically. And Scott's that. I mean, you can see it in the way he looks at you. You can see it in the way that he steps up to support you in absolutely any way possible. And you can see it in you as well, where you support him through absolutely everything, and that you two, your personalities genuinely complement each other.
Well, and it's like I say, when I say we're yin and yang, we're very yin and yang. I mean, like, I never really dated. I don't know what, well, I dated this girl, I dated that girl.
Oh, dating's
he says
awful.
that all the time.
It's terrible.
And I mean, where he dated a lot of people, I was like, serious relationship, long break, serious relationship. And I fell in love with a lot of people that I think I knew and had relationships with, and then it just went from 0 to 100. With Scott, it was the same thing, but it stuck.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? I think 0 to 100 scares a lot of people. They always regret it. But
I agree with that. But
with Scott, it stuck. It went from 0 to 100 because we did have this space for such a long time, and we were friends for such a long time, and we were helping each other through a lot of troubled stuff. And so when it happened, and then it's like it didn't go away. There were a couple times when it was like, I think he met his match too. I challenged him very much, and I think that I showed him that you are so deserving of, we're deserving of each other.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It goes back to it. I love these two opposing parts of your personality where you are such a force, but you are compassionate. I think it goes back to that is you have such a compassionate, gentle side to you. And I think that's why you are able to be so driven and so forceful, but still, I mean, people feel your love. I mean, you constantly show it to the people around you.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, you really do. So thinking about Arctic Clam and some of the things that you and Scott have experienced together, your band has gotten to open up for some really awesome, amazing national acts like Joan Jett and Eddie Money and Skid Row. So thinking about that as a front woman, what has being able to experience that done for you as a front woman as far as positive takeaways by being around these big national acts that have been doing it for a really long time on a very successful level? How has that impacted you as a front person?
It's interesting you say that because so I am very, very good friends with the band Skid Row. Have been for, it's 22 years now. They are like my brothers. And I was their lawyer for a while before the judge thing.
Yeah.
I was their lawyer. We're still, I haven't seen them because of COVID, I haven't seen them in 3 years. I'm hoping to see them this summer. Still talk, text, email, whatever. I've opened up for a lot of big crowds. That's drives me, that's great. Nothing, you want to talk about me ever being nervous in my life? When we opened up for Skid Row not the last time, we opened up for them a couple times. We put on a party at Bar 145, they played outside. And then we played inside. And 3 of the members came and watched for a while and sat in the corner, and Lexi was there, and my Aunt Rita was there, and Nina, my sister Nina was there, and some of the friends, we were all sitting with them, and I was like, you guys want to play an AC/DC song with me? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, woo, like gulp. And so,
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know, are we live?
We are live.
Oh, okay. I
That's
brought you guys
okay.
some cocktails.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
This is strawberry number 24.
That's
Yours
perfect.
doesn't have any alcohol in it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I believe
Appreciate
that's the
We're
thing.
good. Yeah, we're
Can
good.
you,
Yeah, we're good.
Can you
Yeah,
show
we're
the
good.
top of this on the
Little,
camera?
pineapple,
How did you do that?
That's awesome.
Can you see
Our
that? I don't
wonderful
know if you can
staff
see
takes
it.
care of all those fancy things. Just a few
All
bucks
right.
for everybody.
That's awesome.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Cheers. Cheers. All right, what is it?
Strawberry number 24.
Ooh,
That's pretty good.
that is good. Thank you. It's so pretty. I love these glass. I love martini glass like that.
Very good. I feel like it's an excellent time to just once again say Toledo Spirits is one of our sponsors. And Heart of Glass Vodka, everyone. So we were talking about
Skid
your
Row.
experience. Having Skid Row
So
there.
they actually did. They jumped up on stage with me, and I remember, like, my Aunt Rita, I remember her saying to me, I have never seen your face like that in your entire life. She goes, it's the first time I've ever seen you like totally humbled, like totally like taken aback and like a scared little girl. And we killed it, of course. It was great. We sang Highway to Hell, and it was awesome. But that is so funny because it was inside bar 145, which, you know, probably no bigger than this room right here.
Yeah.
And instead, I'd just gotten done playing in front of probably 3,000 people at Joan Jett, probably 10,000 people. We opened up for Collective Soul this last year, 5,000 people probably. And here we are with a couple hundred people. And that moment was like this crazy thing. But having them as a support for me and watching how they are as rock stars, watching how they interact with people, watching how they interact with their fans, watching the respect that they give to people, and the fact that they could sell out right now by reuniting with their former singer, who will always remain unmentioned by me, and probably be able to retire gazillionaires, and they'd rather play and be happy. And so that's one of the things that's really driven me, especially later. I mean, if I could, I would play a lot, but I will say COVID taught me a lot. Having your Fridays and Saturdays at home isn't the worst thing in the world. And if I'm fortunate enough to play with my husband, but we are really, I mean, we're in a band with 3 other full-time musicians.
Yeah.
And so their schedules are crazy. But they put us first, always. So if I say, hey, I've got this gig and this is what it pays, and I know you got a gig, and I would never do something to somebody like 2 weeks before a gig ever.
Yeah.
But hey, I see you're booked on November 15th. I have an opportunity to do this. Do you want to get a sub for your other gig? Should I take this gig or not, But we're happy because we're playing where we want to play. I mean, could I book every weekend? Of course I could book every weekend. But we're playing, events now that are kind of feeding back in a couple bars, but maybe once a year. Like, we're not doing the bars every weekend or every other week. We just played bar 145 a couple weeks ago. It almost killed me to play till 1 a.m. Saturday we played 9 to 1 down in Findlay, which is where Scott's from. And so it was great because we had all of his family there. We had a bunch of his friends there. So that was a nice energy. But again, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot what this felt like. So it's nice to be able to be selective now and be happy. So that's my point that's what I've learned from people like Skid Row, Rusted Root. Michael Glebicki is a very good friend. Same thing. He's happy doing what he's doing. He might not be as popular, or he might not be playing exactly what his fans want him to play, but he's happier. So those are the things that I think I take with me. Obviously, opening up for people like Joan Jett or George Clinton, or like I said, Collective Soul, and a handful of other bands. It's awesome. But it's not. It's the people that we've developed this great connection with that have really taught me what it's all about, and I'm very, very lucky. Very, very lucky to have that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I love that you talked about cutting back your schedule. Do you find that the performances that you're doing now, that they're more infrequent, that they mean more to you than when you were in that hustle of doing those every single week bar gigs?
It isn't so much that it means more, it's that we're playing a ton of different kind of stuff right now.
That's cool.
And I mean, stuff that's obscure and stuff that's just like a lot more 80s stuff than I would have thought, but not poppy 80s stuff, and learning different things. Like, for the first time ever, for as many years I've been singing Misty Mountain Hop, Saturday, Grace was playing and she sang, how it's got the harmonies throughout the whole song?
Yeah.
Last Saturday is the first time that anybody's ever sung the harmonies the whole way through. And she's been in the band for a couple years, but last week, and I was like, oh my God. like as many times we've been singing this song like this. So that's what I think is a little bit different is I'm feeling like, wow, this is really cool. We're able to do different stuff. And then you've got Jay who's got a range up here. And
yes, he
then
does.
you got Stevie with his little funk and stuff. So we've got this really, really good thing right now. The only thing that would make it possibly better is if occasionally we had Mick come out of retirement and he could come and shred with Jay. And so you have all of that going on. That would be the only thing that would make it a little bit better. But
I would love to hear that.
So happy right now with the way that it's going. Like really, really, really happy.
You do have a really solid
aside from like
lineup.
our original lineup of me and Stevie and Mick. And I think the thing for me is I am a purist. I hate effects on my voice. I hate, no offense, the pedals and all of this stuff.
None taken.
And again, you're doing acoustic stuff where you've got your iPad and if somebody wants to hear a song, you can pull it up and you can play it. I am like, I better learn the words. That's my job. You'll see me occasionally. I'll have a little piece of paper that's like stuck on my microphone stand. That's like because you can't remember. I'm trying to remember chords. I'm trying to remember words.
Absolutely.
A little piece of paper that I'll duct tape there, and that's it because that's who I am. I don't ever expect anybody to be that way. So it was always nice with Mick originally because when we didn't have a keyboard player, he was figuring out how to do that on his guitar and make it sound good. And that was what I loved is like, what do you mean we don't need a keyboard player? We got it. But Grace has just been such a freaking awesome addition.
Grace is incredible.
Now we can do the Who all the time and all those things that we learn. I mean, if you think about it, you're learning all those songs by one band for acoustics as a tribute set, and then then you're done.
Right.
So I mean, with Grace being in the band now, we're able to keep some of those as part of our set, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thinking about another one of your big endeavors here in Toledo, let's talk about Toledo Pride for a second.
Yeah.
So when I think of Toledo Pride, I think of your name automatically because your name is so very much imprinted on the event. So thinking about Toledo Pride and your involvement, why are you so passionate about helping to lift up the LGBTQ community? Because I see you with almost every event involved with Equality Toledo, you are involved to a certain extent. So I can tell it's something that you're very passionate about.
Well, this is gonna sound so gay. But I'm pumped.
You're in good company. Yeah. Let's hear it.
No, but I do very firmly believe that love is love. Like I don't care who you decide that you want to fall in love with. It doesn't matter to me. And seeing so many of my friends have that struggle, it's heartbreaking to me. So if I can offer my assistance with event planning and getting volunteers and just being the organized person that I am. I love you, Lexi, but she's the most disorganized person in the world. I'm like, Lexi, we really need to talk about this. We really need to talk about it. We did talk last week, so we're good. But if I can lend my talents as a person that doesn't have to deal with that extra layer of, we'll call it discrimination, or just that extra layer of difficulty, why wouldn't I? It's mostly because of people that I care about in the LGBT community. But I really don't, like I said, this is the thing, it's another trigger issue for people. What do I care who you fall in love with? How does that affect my taxes?
Right. Right.
I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
Like, how does that affect where my money is going and how it's paid? I don't care what you do at home or in public. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter to me. I wish people concentrated more on that than on the trigger issues. I think we'd all be a lot happier because that's what it comes down to. It really is.
Definitely.
So if I can support my friends and if I can be an integral part in that, I remember very specifically the year I was running because what I do for Pride is I organize the music and then I do the volunteers. Now they're Toledo Pride volunteers and they're Project I Am volunteers. We do the things like the beer, the beer tickets, the admissions, okay? Toledo Pride volunteers do a lot of amazing other things, set up, tear down, that kind of stuff. I remember the year I ran, I got there, 8 a.m. and I'm running around, and then they're like, Nicole, the parade. And I'm like, ugh. And I remember trucking it down and getting in the parade and getting dressed up. And then I remember walking And I remember the minute that I hit the bottom of the parade, I ran into the parade, I changed my clothes, and I'm selling beer tickets within, 5 minutes, just trying to help organize people.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same, this year is gonna be really interesting because we're gonna play first because of some commitments with other band members.
Oh, okay.
And normally that's when the parade gets done and that's the busiest because you get this rush. And so now Scott and I, who are normally the people that are down there like on the grounds being like, no, come this way. Hey, come over here, are gonna be up on stage. So we're gonna have to trust the conglomerate that is Project I Am to get it done. I'll find a couple people that I'm sure I can have be the directors of traffic and those kinds of things. But yeah, it's super important to me that nobody feels, based on certainly their sexuality, that they should be treated any differently. And my friends are extremely important to me, and I'm loyal to them and they're loyal to me. So why wouldn't I throw my all into it?
I love that. I'm speaking as somebody who, one, is a friend of yours, also a member of the LGBTQ plus population. I am so grateful to have an ally like you.
Yeah, thank you.
Not just an ally in word, but you are fiercely an ally, and you get in there and you help and you truly do support. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Nicole, thank you so much for doing this. I love you. I'm so glad that we got to sit down and do this. And I don't know if you have anything coming up that you would like to rep. Your episode's going to drop mid-June. So if there's anything you want to tell the people about, just look right at that camera.
Well, I can tell you August 20th is Toledo Pride, and we will be first on stage. And I'm trying to think of other gigs. July 3rd, if you're not doing anything, the day before the 4th of July, we will be up at a really, really fun, open to the public boat club, Detroit Beach Boat Club. And if you guys want to have a blast, that is a fun time. It's a little bit of an early show with a bunch of fireworks after that. But other than that, you can catch us at all kinds of different things going on. And March 5th, 2023, you'll see us in Uptown Mommy at Acoustics For Autism. So mark it on your calendar. And I am up for election next year.
All right.
So we'll be pushing really hard from January, starting next year. We'll be going hard, and we'll find out in July whether I have an opponent. Well, we'll find out before then, I would hope, but definitely by July if I have an opponent. And if I don't, then Ashley won't have to stand out in the cold and solicit votes for me on whatever date that is.
I will happily do it again. Everyone, Nicole Khoury, thank you so much for listening and watching. Please follow us and like us on all of our social media. On each platform, our handle is just at Heart of Glass the Pod. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Please share this episode, and next week we will be dropping a preview of the next episode. Thank you for hanging out here with us and being on this journey with us and helping us to get even more below the surface with another amazing human that makes up the heartbeat of the Glass City. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Music my whole life has always been an escape. It's always been like when I was sad or when when I'm happy or whatever, I'd be listening to music.
Absolutely.
And I love everything about it. It's just my, favorite thing. And it always will be, even if there are moments where I do get like burnt out or whatever, I will always love music, and it's always been my friend. Like it's always been right there for me. And even just, I have so many songs that I've written that are just terrible, but it's just like such a nice way to get your feelings out.
That catharsis, right?
And it's like, I'll never put these ones out because they're just not good, but getting those feelings out and onto paper and in, music and stuff. It was really nice. And I had started writing at this time a lot because I was going to IMTA my senior year.